We are back at Pelicans Ballpark, and I am pleased to be joined by ESPN's Clinton Yates on the broadcast here at Pelicans Ballpark. Clinton, appreciate it. How's Myrtle Beach been for so far? I mean, it's a cool evening, and it's rained a little bit, but really nice so
rained
far.
a little bit, but that's what you get on the beach. But it's been simply a nice day. I was looking this up. It was 10 years ago that I first came to this ballpark, and pretty much almost to the date, which is weird, like to the week. But yeah. I'm back and happy to be supporting Deaf Awareness Night and just glad to watch some baseball.
I mean, you're wearing the jersey already. What do you think of these really awesome jerseys as a fly ball goes out to center field? Quintana flies it to Pagan to start things off in the second. But Myrtle Beach and sign language across the front, it's a really good look for you.
It's a good look, thank you. I like the way that they've designed these jerseys, but I think more importantly, the cause in general is something that I've really come to appreciate. A couple years ago, the team reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about what we're doing? Because people know I'm a big jersey guy. And I was like, you know what? That's a jersey and that's a cause that I like. I'll wear that on TV, and I don't mean to say that flippantly. I just mean to say I wanted to bring more to what the awareness level was in terms of just in general the causes that people support that have to do with those that are not in the same position as everybody else. You know what I mean? We're at a point in time now where ableism and all this stuff is a discussion we have. And being from D.C., home of Gallaudet University, one of the premier deaf institutions in America, if not this was something that was close to my heart.
Swing and a miss by Omar Hernandez. He's down 1-2. A player I wanted to touch on, who's the head coach of that university, Curtis Pride.
Yeah.
Former Major League player, played in the majors for a long time, but was deaf and had to go through a lot of obstacles. Have you had the chance to meet him and connect? And
I've met him once. We have not connected, but the program that Gallaudet runs is kind of amazing just in terms of everything they do to make sure that opportunities can be the same for everyone in terms of communication, in terms of life skills, in terms of humanity. And, we used to actually, when I was in high school, because I'm from D.C. as well, we used to play against their high school, model high school. And it was always such an interesting outlook on the world to see athletes who do not have the same tools as everybody else but still compete at the highest level possible. That's something that always stood out to me.
Omar Hernandez strikes out. It brings up Eric Pena on Luis Rodriguez. Pitch comes in for a called strike. 1-1, 2 out, spaces empty. Pelicans up 1-0. Talking with ESPN's Clinton Yates. And one question I wanted to ask you, baseball is so special because it's every day. And in minor league baseball, you can do events like this. You can do specialty jerseys and these nights to raise awareness. Why do you think baseball is such a great sport for raising awareness for nights like this?
I think the community feel is a large part of it. Everybody knows around minor league baseball that it's been a difficult couple years in a lot of different towns across America. Myrtle Beach, obviously one that has, found itself in terms of the limelight, just in a good position with the Cubs. And I think that's what it is. It's a grassroots connection to everybody.
It's back on the broadcast.
Let's watch some baseball here for a little bit.
Let's do it.
We can talk about other stuff first.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a quick half inning. Last frame, he was dealing.
Ben Hernandez on the mound for the Fireflies. Luis Rodriguez for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans puts down the Fireflies in order in the top of the second. Pitch low and in on Wetzel. 2 balls and no strikes. Now, you said you were at this ballpark 10 years ago.
10 whole years ago. I came down here on a trip with my then-girlfriend to see a bunch of different minor league teams. And
high bouncer, right side. Vaz goes to first. And it's just in time to get Wetzel for the first out of the inning.
Tougher play than it looked right there. Chopper to the right side. That ball got that ball was about as high as a pop-up, even though it bounced off the ground. He read it pretty well. Maybe not a pop-up, but a blooper. Decent play. Rushed it, getting it out.
There's the first out of the inning. And
yeah, I came down here 10 years ago on a trip, and we went to a bunch of different minor league parks, and Myrtle Beach stood out.
Trianto smokes it foul. 0-1. When was the last minor league game you attended?
Oh, man, that would have been – I'd have to look at my phone, but this season for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who. I've been to a bunch of games this year. Minor league baseball is what I care about. It's as we talked about last inning – it's a good pitch. As we talked about last inning, the connectivity to the community is something about minor league baseball that I think a lot of people don't really understand. Folks talk about the big leagues and all this other stuff, but, if you've been around baseball for long enough, more people can relate to what happens at the minor league level than they can what happens at the big league level. And that has as much to do with anything non-baseball related in terms of players on the field than it does anything that has to do with, just what goes on a game day.
As the 0-2 is lined into right center field. Triantos has a base hit.
Heck of an at-bat right there. Fought off a couple pull side and then managed to get jammed a little bit on the inside. Got it up the gut. Fooled the second baseman, too. I thought one step back might have had a shot at that, but he didn't. Got over his head.
So Triantos, his first hit of the week. He's now 1 for 8. And leads, or comes up with a single with 1 out. It brings up Ethan Hearn, tonight's DH for Myrtle Beach. As you check out his cleats, we'll talk about those a little later.
It's a good look right there, little baby blues.
Those will be auctioned off later this year. And it's got the I love you in sign language in the corner of the cleat. So very cool, made by assistant clubhouse manager Mike Reynolds. And Clinton, we were talking a little bit off the air, but what just happened yesterday that the Cubs were involved with was the Field of Dreams game. They took down the Cincinnati Reds. Now, you were in attendance for the first Field of Dreams game last year between the Yankees and the White Sox. Just how was that experience and how special is that place in Dyersville?
Dyersville, Iowa is an interesting place in terms of how it lines up with baseball because obviously it being a movie set, it's also a farm, and Major League Baseball went out of their way to build a ballpark there. Now, listen, we're in a minor league town. Let's not skirt around the reality. Iowa lost 2 minor league teams in the contraction of the league and what was going on. That split them in half, something that I feel like is not necessarily overlooked, but is certainly understood by Iowans on the ground. I would say that park should be a minor league ballpark. There should be a team that plays there night in and night out, just like they do here. And it's cool to have big league games there. The Corn is great, but that's too big of a facility, in my opinion, to just have it leave it there.
Hearn flies it foul, a ball and 2 strikes. And I'm talking with ESPN's Clinton Yates about the Field of Dreams game.
Great experience, though, man. Baseball on a farm. I mean, it doesn't smell like hot dogs and dirt. It smells like mulch and manure, but that's what you get.
Well, to have a walk-off into the Corn as well, hit by
that was
Tim
stunning.
Anderson.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, look, they found a way to make the experience really cool a couple of years in a row, but overall, as a baseball facility, they should be playing every college tournament there possible. High school state championship should be there, and there should be a minor league team playing in that ballpark.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's very big, obviously, with all the seats that they installed.
And they could build more. I mean, it's a footprint on a cornfield. You know what I mean? It's not like there's nothing else that they can expand to.
Joined in the broadcast booth by ESPN's Clinton Yates.
He got fooled on that just a little bit. He was behind the entire AB and managed to keep that one in fair territory, but only could spray it to left.
Runner takes off. Hernandez swings and misses. Throw
That's
down goes into center.
Yep. Oh, didn't take it.
Will stay on second.
Didn't mean to step on you there, but that throw went wide from the catcher, and it was wide early to the point that I thought that the runner might have been able to actually see that and just pop up and keep going. Cobb clearly didn't see it. Had to look back, and that was just enough time for him to not have enough time to get to third. Absolutely. One of the things about baseball at the highest level in terms of the major leagues is that guys don't make mistakes. And on some level, the game is boring because if you don't know exactly what you're looking at, you're never going to see something out of the ordinary. At this level of the game, you see guys, and it's like, oh, sometimes you got to make a decision, and either your skill level or your experience level doesn't add up to what the situation is, and that's just plain fun. I think more people can relate to that than they can relate to the guy that literally never misses a ball 9 out of 10 times when it comes to him on the infield and makes the smartest decision every time on the base pass.
Absolutely. A 1 count on Stevens as Hernandez comes back from a mound visit. We got Omar Hernandez behind the plate, Ben Hernandez on the mound. So a Hernandez battery tonight.
Nice.
I definitely wanted to get your thoughts on the Cubs' moves at the trade deadline, or lack of moves at the trade deadline of not trading Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ.
Marginally surprising, but I also think rather humble on a certain level. I think the Cubs are realizing that they've got to figure out what they're doing the next couple seasons because we are officially in – I mean, everything that's happened since the World Series team. There's been a lot of, but the guys in this – and the relationship between a fan base and what happens with the, for lack of a better term, unraveling of their World Series generation. I think we're fully at the end of that in a way that if you're a Cubs fan, you've got to look at the next 5 years a little differently, and I think the Cubs understood that. Making a splash to just make a splash didn't particularly make sense, particularly when you had high and tight there.
Stevens works a 2-out walk. It'll be runners on first and second for Scott McKeon.
Especially when you have a market that was as hot at the trade deadline as this. The Cubs did not need to be players. Sure, they could have sold off a couple guys. You never really know. Contreras is a good player, but I don't mind them for just saying, you know what, we're fine. And it was an awkward moment seeing the two of them hug and then not get traded. Yeah. But, you know, at the same time, I understand transactionally why nothing happened.
Well, Clinton, your first question when you came in here, what book are you scoring with? You said Bob Carpenter was the broadcasting scorebook that I use. But I heard you say in an interview once that you started scoring because of the Field of Dreams movie.
That's very true.
He was
when I was a kid and I watched that movie, people forget in the inning in which they go to the one time they go to an actual baseball game, like a real life baseball game. He's scoring the game and he's waiting and he's tracking. And I remember asking my dad, "What is he doing?" Like, I played baseball for a couple of years, and I sort of understood the book to an extent, but I thought it was a coach's thing. I didn't realize it was a thing that fans did. He was like, "Oh, he's scoring a game," and my dad was like, "I'll get you a book."
McKeon grounds a foul. Count stays 2-2.
Got me a book. I started scoring games, and I was the kind of kid that, I mean, even though I played, people would say, "Oh, you know how to keep a scorebook? You must have been a bum in high school." I'm like, no, I would sit at home and score games that I watched on television routinely. And as a result, it's become a really big hobby of mine. And that's why the whole hashtag kids dig the scorecard thing is big.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite fun.
What do you look for here? 3-2. Runners on second and third. 2 outs.
I think he's going to change him up. I think you got to stay honest with the fastball here because you can poke one the other way. You've got 2 runs immediately.
Payoff. McKeon into right field. A 2-out base hit. Stevens comes home for the second run, and he's in there. And now McKeon in between first and second and will be tagged out at first. And that is how the inning ends, but not before 2 runs come home to score. And the Pelicans lead at 3-0. What a way to end that inning.
I'll hang around for another one just so we can talk about that.
Let's
that
go.
Was, that
Let's
was
go.
great. That
Bring
was
it on
fantastic.
for another. We'll have more Clinton Yates on the other side. Top 3 coming up next. What did we just see to end
First
that
of
bottom
all,
of the second?
we saw a terrible base running mistake. That didn't necessarily need to happen. Laced the ball to right, as I thought was going to happen if he caught the fastball. Scored 2 runs, but he's got too far off of first. Tried to get sneaky till second. Came back to first as if it was just going to be a play, but no, he overslid the bag.
High fly ball right center. Pagan over. And he will make the catch for the first out of the inning.
Quick shout out to Javi Vaz, by the way, played at Vanderbilt. His family, cool family. His dad played on an Alabama College World Series team. Didn't end up getting to play because he stepped on a ball and got injured in that, and very famously was not able to play. But Javi Vaz, good kid from the Huntsville, Alabama area. Good player at Vanderbilt.
So he flies out to right center to lead this inning off. And it brings up Yudi Advincola, first pitch inside. I'm curious, where would you put college baseball in the ranks of the minors? How would you kind of stack that up? I've heard it's somewhere
competitive-wise,
single A and high A.
I think it's probably there, and mainly because the arms are not the same, and that's kind of the thing. If you get a guy in college who can really mow a lineup down, you're gonna have a better team. The hitters are not quite there at the same rate in terms of the gap between pitching and hitting, but competitively, just in terms of what you watch, I think college baseball is one of the more competitive things you're going to see because that talent level between the best player and the worst player, at least at the highest level of college baseball, is not as much as you think overall.
2-1 is high from Rodriguez. It's 3 balls and 1 strike on Advincola, his first at-bat tonight.
And everybody's typically around the same age group, so the enthusiasm is at a little different level. It's quite the fun time.
This Pelicans team has had players up to 25 years old.
Okay.
Down to Ballesteros, tonight's catcher, 18 years old.
Wow.
So a wide range have entered that Pelicans clubhouse.
It's quite a bit of work for a young man at that age behind the dish.
Number 28, Cubs prospect. The 3-2 is fouled back.
I think another thing that I really enjoy about Deaf Awareness Night is just the general inclusivity. Baseball is a sport that's kind of struggling with that in terms of the larger level of the game and, who feels welcome and who feels like they're a part of things. This is something that really makes me feel like people get it.
Throw back over to first. Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, Curtis Pride, who is one of the MLB ambassadors for inclusion. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of the game now. And the first time the Pelicans put on this event in 2018, there were people from Chicago that flew out here just for this game to show their support. You covered baseball for a while. What do you think they say in those mound visits or infield visits?
In that particular one, it's, hey, find the zone, buddy. I got something to do tonight. You've thrown 6 out of 9 balls. You know what I'm saying? We're here behind you. And I mean that facetiously, but in a situation like that, it looks like he's nibbling a little bit, trying to make sure that he doesn't get contact. Infield comes in and says, we're here for a reason. We can pick it up, throw it in the zone, we'll make a play.
Turns to Daniel Vasquez. He shows bunt. Pulls it back, and it's a ball outside. Vasquez walked his first plate appearance. And the Fireflies tonight have walked 4 times.
This is also a situation where you mentioned you got an 18-year-old catcher. He's not going to come out and talk to the pitcher. It's going to be the infield in that situation.
It takes a while to build that confidence up to go out there and
Yeah.
have a discussion. Runner at second takes off. Ballesteros to third base. And it's stolen by Advincola. Both runners will advance. Pitch clock being implemented in the minor leagues this year. Clinton, I wanted to get your thoughts on just how it's sped up the game because we have noticed it a ton as the 3-1 pitch comes in. Rodriguez gets it, 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I enjoy it. Frankly, I probably enjoy it as much for the players as I do for myself as a fan or anybody that's ever covered a game. That thing keeps moving out there. You're going to get better baseball. That's just the thing. You know, you get pitchers who work slow. Guys get distracted. They make errors. Guy keeps it moving.
Got him swinging. Rodriguez battles back and throws 3 straight strikes to sit down Vasquez.
We mentioned he had to find the zone right there, and he did it 3 times in a row in a way that's clearly a relief to him. Took his hat off after the K, walked around the mound, and just said, "Phew, got one." But yeah, the pitch clock is a thing that just keeps it moving, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that makes the game more exciting. You know, people talk about pace of play and all these other kind of things. Quality of play is as important to me. And if you work faster, the quality of play typically goes up.
Swing and a miss. Clinton, the shortest game the Pelicans have had this year in 9 innings, an hour 55.
That's a quickie. That's a very quick one. I went to a game in Nashville a couple years ago when they first implemented it, and it was 2:10 in 9. And I was like, whoa. Well, that's when I noticed it the first time that this has a real effect. And it was a good game. You know, I didn't feel like we were rushing through anything. It was just, let's get it going. And like I said, I think that makes for better baseball as much as it makes for faster baseball, which is ultimately the goal.
Pelicans threw a no-hitter on May 1st, and that game, I believe, was about 2 hours and 1 minute. And I think the fans didn't realize it was over.
Right, exactly. No, that's fast, especially in a no-no, because mowing him down.
Wanted to get one more of your thoughts on the Major League season.
Sure.
Obviously a big storyline. Aaron Judge, does he get to 61 home runs this year?
So I'm of the opinion that the discussion about 60 doesn't count until you get to 50. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when the real pressure starts to ramp up. And, you know, sort of separately as an aside, there's part of me that feels like if he gets to 60 home runs, that's not necessarily a good thing for the Yankees either, because he's hitting home runs. They're not necessarily winning games. As a baseball person, I'm not a bloop and a blast guy.
Yeah.
Get it around the bags, matriculate around the base paths, and score some runs. Sure, it's a nice little thing for him, but I don't necessarily know that that's the way the Yankees want to play baseball.
I'm sure you've noticed the mementos to Wrigley Field around Pelicans ballpark. There's the marquee out over in right field. The Pelicans.
Shouts to my man Book Shambi, by the way, play-by-play guy for marquee.
I believe he gets a night off tonight.
Yeah. Great guy, by the way.
Rodriguez with the 1-1 delivery. Here it comes. Inside, 2 balls and a strike. And we are actually on marquee tonight as a part of their whip-around coverage. So
excellent.
Every one of the Cubs affiliates are on marquee. They're jumping into each game.
Nice.
And we're one of those.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Appreciate that. Tell your parents.
My parents are very excited back in Indiana. 2-1 is a swing and a miss. And Holly's got a 2-ball, 2-strike count on Rodriguez.
That might have been his best pitch of the frame right there. Challenged him upstairs in the zone, making sure that he just knew he's got it, not trying to nibble outside and fool each batter.
Pelicans have a 3-2 lead, top of the third. 2 runs home for the Fireflies in this frame. 2-2. Breaking ball, got him swinging, inning over. 2 runs come in for Columbia. Clinton, it was an honor to have you join me. Thanks for coming to Pelicans.
Absolutely, man. It's great to meet you. This is a fantastic experience at the ballpark tonight, and I'm glad you guys are getting to raise some money and some awareness for a good cause.
That's ESPN's Clinton Yates. We'll be back in the bottom of the third. Birds up, 3-2.